This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation, Larry Burns.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Caring for Kids. Tonight, we're going to discuss a variety of issues concerning the health and wellness of children locally, regionally, and, of course, nationally. Tonight, our guests are Naomi Howrani, who's Director of Development at Detroit Cristo Rey High School, Ken Daniels, play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Red Wings, and co-founder of the Jamie Daniels Foundation, and Arlyn Daniels, Ken's daughter, who is playing a key role in the Jamie Daniels Foundation. And lastly, DTE's Vice President of Public Affairs, Nancy Moody, and President of the DTE Foundation, Lynette Dowler. It's all coming up next on Caring for Kids right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids. Hopefully everyone's having a great summer. In the studio right now is Naomi Howrani. Naomi is Director of Development at Detroit Cristo Rey High School. She is a graduate of Divine Child High School, right next to Cristo Rey, right?
Close by.
In Dearborn, Michigan, and the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. She's a Wolverine. After graduating from the University of Michigan, Naomi spent 3 years working in Washington, D.C., doing consulting work, and later spent a year abroad teaching in Thailand. Naomi joined the Detroit Cristo Rey team in 2014 and currently resides in Grosse Pointe Farms. So welcome, Naomi, to Caring for Kids.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's great to see you again. I first met you at our grant announcement, which we're going to talk about a little later, but nice to see you again. So for our listeners out there that are not too familiar or maybe familiar at all with Detroit Cristo Rey, tell us a little bit about the school, maybe the location, and then sort of the makeup of the student body.
Sure. So Detroit Cristo Rey High School is a private Catholic co-ed college prep high school. We're located in Southwest Detroit. We're on the corner of Verner and Junction, so a lot of people are familiar with the Holy Redeemer campus. When Holy Redeemer closed, we took over the building in that same location. So that's where we are. The school opened in 2008, which, as you know, was not a good year for the country, for the and especially Detroit.
Right, you're right.
So opened in a really tough year. We are about 60% funded through our jobs program. So all of our students work jobs to
all
pay
of
their
your students
tuition.
Work to help pay tuition.
Correct.
Wow.
So 60% of our budget is funded that way, which, like I said, when you open in 2008 and you're trying to get work partners to join the program, it was not the easiest thing to do. And then 40% is funded by development, which is what I oversee. So grants, events,
the great work that you
donors.
do. And is there tuition?
There is a tuition. So all of our families come through the admissions process understanding that they have to pay something. We want everyone to have some skin in the game.
Gotcha.
Most of our families pay very little. It's based on income.
Sure.
So we only accept low-income families.
Right.
So it's adjusted based on their annual income.
So we have a combination of philanthropy, which is what you spend a lot of your time on, the work-study program. Correct. And then tuition.
Yes.
And that all adds up to being able to run the school.
It does.
Great. So how about the student body makeup, be it male, female, the demographics? I think that it's mostly Hispanic. And then let's talk a little bit about the curriculum that the students have leading into what you mentioned, into the college prep part of Cristo Rey.
Sure. So this year we were actually about 50-50 boys and girls, which is pretty rare.
And how many of them, if you don't mind, just a range, come from Holy Redeemer?
So Holy Redeemer has a fairly small graduating 8th grade class every year.
Okay.
At most, I think maybe about 25 kids a year they graduate there. We do get a significant amount of those students. I would say, I don't know the exact number, but I would say maybe 12 to 15 of those students come over.
Good. And it's literally right next door, right?
Literally in the same. We share the same parking lot.
Yep.
So we were
50-50.
split about 50-50 boys and girls. As you said, predominantly Hispanic. We're about 70% Hispanic.
Okay.
A lot of our students live in the neighborhood of Southwest Detroit, but we actually attract from several different zip codes within Detroit and downriver, Dearborn, some neighboring communities.
Okay, great. And I'm sure that leads to some of the diverse education and cultural backgrounds that the kids get.
Yeah.
Now, how about the curriculum and the so all the students are working, so I think that's a really good example of putting forth an effort for something that is very valuable in education. And then, so when in today's world, when you mention college, I went to a college prep school back in the 70s, and I loved it. I'm not sure how prepared I was for college, but I got through. And so in today's world, what does that mean in your terms?
Sure. So as you mentioned, all of the students work jobs, which means that's one day a week that they're not in the classroom, which is a lot of time you have to make up. So we have to have an extended day, which a lot of incoming students are not incredibly excited about.
I can imagine.
So our school day goes until 4 o'clock.
Okay, versus traditional 3 or in some cases
sometimes
2.
2:30.
Yeah, yep.
Exactly. So we do make it up with that extra extended class time. A lot of our students have been underserved educationally.
Sure.
And they come to us 2-3 years behind grade level in reading and math. And so what we do in the freshman year is we double up on reading and math instruction so that we can get them to be where they need to be by the time they're going to college.
Well, that's an aggressive plan for these. How's the retention rate as it relates to that with kids coming in as freshmen, moving on to sophomore, junior year?
Yeah, right now I think we're at about 70%.
That's outstanding.
We're part of a network of schools, the Cristo Rey Network. Yep. There are 32 schools in the network, and they're opening schools generally about 2 every year.
Okay.
The Cristo Rey Network received a grant last year, and it was specifically geared towards retention.
Okay.
Because some of the schools have more issues retaining their students than we do.
Sure.
And so what we did this past year is we focused specifically on freshman retention because we knew our numbers were showing that we were losing a lot of freshmen at the end of the year. And so what we did was we came up with a freshman advisory program where myself and other members of the leadership team, including the president, the principal, different staff members who they don't necessarily interact with on a daily basis, are assigned a specific group of students to meet with and follow
and mentor
throughout the year. Yeah. So we came up with that program. We also did some just a lot of social activities within the freshman class, just to kind of build that camaraderie and school spirit culture. And we lost, I think, 2 students during the whole school year, 2 freshmen during the whole school year, which compared to last year was a
so you're
huge
making
difference.
great progress.
We are.
I know I did that in the University of Toledo for many years, so I know that's a challenge, and sounds like you're making great progress. And we're talking with Naomi Howrani from Detroit Cristo Rey High School. And so I mentioned that we met at our recent grant announcement meeting here in the Fisher Building, and one of those grants was to Cristo Rey. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about that grant and what you are going to achieve with the funds that we provided?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing with the funds that we received, basically, we know that a lot of our students do not have proper eye care. And so many of them need glasses. So what we're doing is we are providing eye screenings for all of our students.
For all of them.
For all of them, every single one. And when those screenings come back and show that some students need glasses, we're purchasing glasses for them as well.
Good.
Because, like we say, you can't really learn if you can't
If
see.
you can't see, it's pretty hard
It's
to
hard.
learn.
It's very hard.
Well, and that was the need that you all brought up to us and our grant committee and our trustees, and they felt that, the chairman of our grants committee is a pediatric ophthalmologist, so it was right up his interest level, and he agreed how important it is, and so we look forward to hearing, how many students need glasses and how many we provide them, and so we'll have you back when
Great.
in a year or so when you've had a chance to actually do that. So I want to thank you for all you're doing. I have visited Cristo Rey 2-3 times, and it's a great place.
It is.
It's also a fun little neighborhood to go to lunch or dinner, so I'll be back.
We'll come back. I'll take you out for tacos.
All righty. All right, I'll take you up on that. So thanks a lot for all the work you're doing.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. That was Director of Development, Naomi Howrani of our Detroit Cristo Rey High School. And coming up next, we're going to hear from Ken Daniels and his daughter Arlyn about the work they're doing with the Jamie Daniels Foundation. That's when Caring for Kids continues here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids, July edition. In the studio with me are two Daniels. So we have Ken Daniels. Ken is in his 22nd season as the play-by-play announcer for our Detroit Red Wings. Ken started his play-by-play career in 1989 with the Toronto Maple Leafs after previously working in radio covering political and general news. Ken's voice has also been heard covering the Toronto Blue Jays, Formula One, and IndyCar racing in several events during the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. Ken has started a nonprofit organization named in memory of his son, Jamie. It is called the Jamie Daniels Foundation, which fights to put an end to the opioid and substance abuse epidemic currently facing America. And also in the studio is Arlyn Daniels, a recent Michigan State University graduate, Ken's daughter, who is playing a key role in launching the Jamie Daniels Foundation, and we get to see her every day. So, Arlyn, welcome. Ken, welcome. Great to see you. And talk first a little bit about your professional career, because I know people are interested in that. And did you? I mentioned in your intro that you did some political and news reporting, but were you always seeking to get into sports and hockey in particular?
Yeah, that's a good question, Larry. I always wanted to host Hockey Night in Canada, and it wasn't so much play-by-play, but I think kids ask me all the time, how do I get into this business? And boy, the world's changed. Mm-hmm. Because I started in Oshawa outside Toronto doing news, politics. It was just do anything you can. Versatility is key.
Right.
Let them think you can do anything. And then I wind up at CJCL, which later became The Fan, Canada's first all-sports radio station in Toronto. And I was doing political beat. I had an office at City Hall. I was covering politics. Right. I can't say I understood it greatly. It was one of the great stories was I'd leave City Council and I'd come back a little bit later. I'd get a clip from someone, and it would be on the radio. And one of the great beat reporters, Steve Paikin, who now has his own show called TV Ontario, in Toronto and throughout the province of Ontario, he came to me and he said, I'm driving home, I'm listening to your report. You weren't there for 3/4 of it, and it sounded better in a 45-second piece than I did. I said, because you let the details get in the way.
Right, exactly.
I'm just doing in layman's terms. I figure this is what it is and just grasp that. So I enjoyed that side of it, and then when they said, can you come do sportscasts? Sure can. Can you do play-by-play? I'll give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And it was a great learning experience, but that's what I tell kids today, versatility. And I was lucky enough to get it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard that a lot, particularly in radio, because there's just so many things that need to be done, and sometimes you're the only person there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love radio. Just this environment. And when I first came to Detroit in 1997 with the Red Wings, we had a Hockey Town show here on WJR once a week. I loved coming down here. It's just the intimacy of radio. You do your own thing. You're playing your own clips. You're writing your own script. And, in television, you're working with producers, directors, and you're a team.
Yep, right.
You're a team. In radio, you're mostly on your own.
So we're talking with Ken Daniels, our Detroit Red Wings play-by-play announcer, about to start his 22nd season with the Red Wings. And so tell us a little bit about not only your role as the voice of the Red Wings, but you've seen great success now, a rebuilding process. You've had a great partner in Mickey Redmond. And so how does that fit into Ken Daniels and his professional life?
I've never had more fun than working with Mickey and coming to the Red Wings. And you say partnership, it's like a marriage. And, when Mickey walks into the booth at night and I see him, and sometimes he arrives 5 minutes before the game because he's downstairs talking with the coaching staff to get his information. He walks into the booth, and when he walks in, he says, "Kenny boy," it's almost like saying, "Hi, honey, I'm home."
Right.
And our booth is our home, so to speak. And Mickey's become a wonderful friend, and our families are so close. I remember Arlyn when she was, I don't know, 2 years old or so, and with the Stanley Cup at Mickey's house because the Red Wings won it the year before I came, and I was fortunate enough my first year to win it, and that's when, although we had nothing to do with it, but we're fortunate to be part of it. And Mickey would say, they're spoiling you.
Right.
The first year, right?
First year, Stanley Cup.
Yeah, 97, 98, another one 02, another one in 08. So just to be part of all that, I think we're a ways away from getting there again, but they're in that rebuilding mode now, and I think, they're going to be competitive, but I think it's a couple of years you're going to see this team take that next step.
And you had mentioned to me a couple weeks ago you thought they did real well in the draft.
Oh, they did, and a lot of the players they picked, Pavel Zadina, basically Joe Veleno, fell into their lap because of circumstances, what other teams' needs were. Right. Even though the Red Wings' needs were defense, they got a centerman at number 30 in Veleno, but when Philip Zadina fell into their lap at 6 because of other teams' needs, and they overlooked this great scorer. And I remember Ken Holland and I went for breakfast on the road in February, and Red Wings didn't know where they'd be picking, and it was clear Rasmus Dahlin, the defenseman, would go first overall. At that time, maybe the Red Wings would get the first pick. Well, they didn't. He said, "The kid I really like is Philip Zadina. Even though we need defense, boy, this Zadina kid can play." And he fell into their lap at 6. Perfect.
Wonderful. And so, one last question about hockey. How was the first inaugural year at Little Caesars? Is it
wonderful? Our booth, where we were, it was, again, it's that apartment, and now you've moved into a beautiful home, beautiful house. That's what it's different. The old apartment into the Bare Naked Ladies did a song like that.
Yeah.
So now you're in a great house, and Mickey Redmond basically designed what we needed. And the great thing about the Ilitch family, and we speak, Mickey finds this and I find this, we go to other arenas and they just can't say enough about Little Caesars Arena. And when we tell them we were in the process from day one, and Mickey was down there with his hard hat on most days with the construction crew because he's in his element. Yeah. When we tell people we were involved, the Ilitch family actually asked our input 4 years ago and 3 years ago, and we were in the process the whole way. They said, really? They actually asked the broadcasters what they need in terms of location and where they need to be. I said, they did.
They did.
It wasn't anywhere else. So we're pretty happy with how it came out.
Good. Yeah. Excellent. So a couple weeks ago, we formally announced a partnership with our Children's Hospital Michigan Foundation and your Jamie Daniels Foundation. And so... I want our listeners to know about the Jamie Daniels Foundation and your journey there, and then what you're hoping to achieve by partnering with us as we move forward together as true partners.
Well, we're hoping to educate, end the stigma, end the shame that comes with those who view what they think addicts are. Addicts don't want to be addicts. My son didn't want to be addicted. I just came from the dentist this morning before coming here, and I asked the doctor, how many Vicodin do you prescribe after you do wisdom teeth, etc. And the first thing he said was, they're checking all of us now. They're coming down quite a bit. We're learning a whole lot. Before I even said anything, and I guess he knew my circumstances, but that's the key. So if that's step one,
that's good,
right, with the doctors. So to educate and where we can go and to help families and raise money and where it's going to go. I don't know if we're sure yet, but there's lots we can do, and there's so many different ways, and the parents need to know. The kids, parents come home if they've got prescription pills and they're leaving it in the medicine cabinet, or the kids do after a wisdom teeth out or anything else.
Which is commonplace, from years past.
But if a doctor's prescribing 15, 10, or 20, and you only use 5, well, then that 13-year-old or 14-year-old or 16-year-old comes home and wants Vicodin, wants Oxycontin, whatever is in there. It's available. Why is it available? It shouldn't be in the house. That's where we have to educate people. Don't leave stuff lying around. You don't need that much, and the doctors need to know. So all this is what we're going to do ongoing.
Absolutely, as true partners. And we are making progress. You mentioned about your dentist. I recently had an MRI, and I got claustrophobic, so I asked my doctor for some Xanax. So I got one.
Good.
Which is good. Yeah,
good.
And it worked.
Well, unless your MRI was for 17 hours, probably one was all you need.
That's all I needed. So that was good news.
Yeah.
So we're also want to talk about just what advice to a parent or a grandparent or family member. I guarantee you, listening to this show, there's somebody out there that is either afraid or aware that a child or a loved one is developing or has a problem. What quick advice can you give the family member?
Every situation, Larry, is just so different. I mean, you have to know that, again, addicts will lie, addicts will manipulate. There's a lot of mistrust there. If you see that they're acting differently, or if they're falling asleep where you're thinking and they're telling you, I had an exam today, I'm just tired today. No, maybe not. If you suspect something, you need to speak with them, and you need to get to a therapist who will get you to a reputable doctor, and if it needs somewhere to be checked in to a rehab place, hopefully the child is willing, right? If he's over age, I mean, he has to, or you can send him in there.
Right.
But advice, I mean, I've heard from so many different people. What do I do? Do you kick him out of the house? Is he on his own? I don't know, because every situation is so different, and it's so hard to tell. But there's a program which I know the foundation will work with down the road too, is Hope Not Handcuffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a wonderful. You can walk in if you're struggling. Walk into a police station. Most of the counties now are involved with Hope Not Handcuffs and Families Against Narcotics, and this came from that. And if you're struggling, you can walk into a police station with your suitcase. They're not going to arrest you. I'm an addict. I'm struggling. I need help. They will call an angel through Hope Not Handcuffs. Within 20 minutes, they will be there, and they will get you into treatment. There are places with insurance, without insurance. You will see what you have.
You have options.
You have options, and they will work with you. Yeah. Don't be scared. If you need help, walk into a police station. They will get you the help. That's what Hope Not Handcuffs. You're not going to be arrested. You're asking for help. And this is what 5 years ago would be unheard of, right? Now it's not.
Yeah, and you mentioned Families Against Narcotics. We're partnering with Judge Linda Davis, who's a friend of yours. And,
if you want something done, like you, Larry, you get stuff done. Meeting you and Matt Friedman, and believe me, for our family and my daughter Arlyn can attest to this, it's opened our lives and given us some hope. And that hope, we hope to translate to thousands upon thousands of others throughout the state of Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. So Arlyn, hello.
Hello.
So we're delighted that you're working at the foundation and primarily working on launching the Jamie Daniels Foundation, but we have you doing some other stuff as well. We have you doing radio. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you are, what types of things have you been doing at the foundation and to get us launched as partners with the foundation?
So I've been working on the marketing communication strategy, and we're really trying to push our name out there on all platforms and really trying to get people aware and involved and make our name known. Good.
And we can now say that we have a commitment from the Detroit Red Wings to do a bobblehead event, a dual bobblehead of our very own Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond. And so we'll be releasing some data or some details about that in the near future, and so we're excited about that. And so I know, Arlyn, you'll be working with the Red Wings on that with us, and I know you're working with Jennifer and Jill on social media and things of that nature. And so how has that been going so far?
Good. We're really starting to get our name on all the different platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can follow us on there and find out more.
So, Ken, I don't know if you know, but we've had a number of events where we've had photographers there that we've hired, or video people and other people. And these are all young people, and Arlyn knows all of them.
Yeah,
she either went.
I know she does.
She either went to camp with them, or school, or something, and so
she's a lot of fun. She's she and her. I got to say, Arlyn and Jamie, they were best friends and so wonderful. And boy, did he ever look out for her all the time. And she would look out for him, too, best she could. I mean, 3 years older he was than Arlyn is. And they were so close. And, you know, people who are struggling, dealing with addiction in their family, and it's not just kids, sometimes it's adults. And then I read Sheryl Sandberg's book. She's with Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's right-hand woman. And she said, you know, she lost her husband suddenly. And she said, the big question is how and why? How do you go on under a circumstance like that? How do you go on when you lose your son or you lose your daughter as a parent? Well, that girl over there, Arlyn, is my how and why. You how do you go on? There's my why.
Right. Awesome.
Right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Arlyn, what can people do to learn more about the Jamie Daniels Foundation, and even more importantly, what they can do to help us get really launched?
So you can visit the website, jamiedanielsfoundation.org, and at the bottom we have our newsletter for people to sign up, and we can keep everyone informed of what we're doing, what's going on. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, where we're going to be posting everything that we're doing, different events. And to get involved, just email us and we make a list, and we want everyone to get involved.
Wonderful. And if someone out there has an idea of how to raise money, how to raise awareness, advocacy, just do as Arlyn said, is go to the website and contact us, and we promise we'll follow up as soon as we can. So appreciate it very much. Look for more information on the Red Wing event. That should be coming soon. And then we have some other great plans coming up for a major event in a year or so that Arlyn is already starting to work on, and you are as well, Ken.
We're going to kick that thing out of the park.
We are, absolutely. And so I want to thank you both for not only coming to us and agreeing to be our partner, being on this show, and most importantly for what we're going to do for families, for people, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be good stuff.
Thanks, Larry. It sure is.
Thank you very much. That was Ken and Arlyn Daniels of the Jamie Daniels Foundation. And coming up next, we'll hear from Nancy Moody and Lynette Dowler, Vice President of Public Affairs and President of the DTE Foundation, when Caring for Kids continues, right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR. Presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids. And I have two great guests now, just not one, but two. And let me tell you about them. I'm going to start with Nancy Moody. Nancy Moody is the Vice President of Public Affairs for DTE Energy. Nancy began her career with the company as a legislative representative for Detroit Edison. 3 years later, she was promoted to Director of the State Government Affairs Office, responsible for advancing the company's interest on key public policy initiatives, and she led electric industry efforts that culminated in comprehensive state energy policy laws enacted in both 2000 and 2008. More recently, Nancy served 4 years as Director of Federal Government Affairs, where she managed DTE's Washington, D.C. office. Nancy is an executive board member of the Michigan Colleges Alliance and Michigan Communities and Schools, and most impressively has been honored twice, not once, twice, as the Child Advocate of the Year by statewide nonprofit children's advocacy organizations. And she's cum laude graduate, I'm not, of Kalamazoo College with a Bachelor of Arts. So, Nancy, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you so much, Larry. Great to be here.
What a great career, and lots to come. Lynette Dowler is the president of the DTE Energy Foundation, managing the foundation's more than $21 million in grant support to nonprofits across the state of Michigan. From 2014 until accepting this new position, Lynette served as the Director of Corporate Safety, during which time DTE Energy achieved the best in industry safety performance, which for your industry is huge.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Her commitment to the corporate citizenship resulted in DTE's River Rouge power plant receiving a Regional Corporate Habitat of the Year award. Very impressive. And close to my heart, Lynette earned her bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration from my University of Toledo. Go Rockets.
Go Rockets.
So that's awesome. I had a great time at University of Toledo. And so, ladies, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you again, Larry.
Great to be with you both. And so I thought we'd talk about just some of the things that DTE is doing. And maybe we'll start with a little bit of individually your roles. I talked a bit about it, but sort of some of the things that are most important to you in the foundation, as well as on the corporate affairs side.
Sure enough.
So Nancy can start.
All right. So on the corporate affairs side, we really are responsible for all corporate social responsibility programs at DTE Energy. And we have a statewide strategy, nationwide, but we're much more focused on Michigan than our other 25 states.
Okay. Most people don't know that you're in 25 states.
We are.
I know,
it's
but
all
that's awesome.
energy-related businesses.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. Great. And you did a lot of things in Washington, and I'm sure that's still a major effort from the federal side.
Well, this is a policy conference, and policy is what we do when we run our state or federal offices. So that was great experience to bring into the public affairs arena where we're really focused on doing good.
Right, absolutely. So thank you. And Lynette, tell us about the foundation and some of your priorities and things that are important to you in the foundation.
Sure. I'd love to. Well, the foundation's been really busy this year.
Right. No doubt.
We've got a long history of really working with our community partners. We partner with about 600 nonprofit organizations over the course of last year. Absolutely, all across the state. $21 million. And we'll be in roughly the same range in 2018. And we've really gotten pretty clear about what our philanthropy is focused on, so that when we work with our partners, there's real clarity around what kind of impact we want to make across the state. And our giving priorities are around 6 key areas.
Okay.
We're invested in arts and culture, which is a key component for us. Clearly basic human needs, food, clothing, and shelter. The third category is around community transformation. And I think Nancy could probably talk about one of our major community transformation initiatives, which is our Beacon Park, which I'll let her talk about that in a minute.
I want to hear more about that.
For sure. It's a great project for us. And then the other 3 categories are around, number 1 is our environment. When we talk about environment, we're talking about air, land, water, and our wildlife, making sure that we take care of them. Very invested in education and employment. That's really our biggest focus of philanthropy. And then the last area of our investment is around economic progress. And our belief is that if we really grow the economy and bring in businesses, we want to bring them in, retain them, and grow them in our state to make our state stronger every single day.
Better.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, and this is radio, so the listeners couldn't see, but you did all of that without any notes.
Oh.
So we have 5 focus areas at Children's Hospital Michigan Foundation, and I normally need my notes, so that's very impressive. It says a lot about your passion for what you do.
Thank you.
And so how about your involvement with Grow Detroit's Young Talent? Our foundation last year made a grant. I arrived in January. I wanted the mayor to know that we're supportive, so I asked his staff, how can we quickly make a statement of support? They said, support Grow Detroit's Young Talent, so we made a grant. And then we hired a young lady who was awesome, and then we're doing the same this year as well. So I know you've been involved. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Grow Detroit Young Talent is one of those partnerships that we have with the city, and the DTE Energy Foundation has been a major contributor to the Grow Detroit Young Talent program. And not only do we invest in that and bring hundreds of young people into work at DTE Energy, but we also have reached out to our supply base and encouraged our supply base partners that we work with to actually bring young people into their companies. So I think it's really paying it forward in a multiplicative way.
Yes, well said.
And I'd like to just add on
please.
to that. So this year, DTE will be bringing in 1,500 students from across the state of Michigan. So Grow Detroit's
you have
Young Talent,
1,500.
we have 1,500 between DTE and our suppliers
Got
that
it.
we are either paying for through programs like
Right.
Grow Detroit's
Right.
Young Talent or bringing in to have them work for us directly, which our corporate dollars pay for.
Yeah.
And we're quite proud of the fact that we've grown this program to 1,500, and
As
we're
you should
working
be.
now on
Yeah.
quality jobs.
Right. Yeah, as you should be. That was Nancy Moody and Lynette Dowler from DTE Energy. Stay tuned for some information about a new segment on our broadcast. That's when Caring for Kids continues right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes. News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Well, new to our broadcast will be a portion of the show dedicated to highlighting our Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation Little Champion of the Game. We have a great new sponsor, and that is Northwestern Mutual. We're very grateful to them for supporting us and our Little Champion of the Game program. We honor children who have overcome major health obstacles in their young lives, and they continue to tackle those challenges with a smile each and every day. This month's champion is 7-year-old Addison. She's from Madison Heights, Michigan. Addison was born with a rare heart disease which prompted open heart surgery when she was 3 months old. She's also dealt with numerous other medical issues in her young life, but she continues to be vibrant and smiling, and she indeed is a little champion of the game. Congratulations, Addison, on being this month's Little Champion of the Game, sponsored by Northwestern Mutual. And for more information on the Little Champion program and to nominate someone, please visit our website at chmfoundation.org, and you'll find the application. It's very, very simple. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing Addison in the near future. Thanks for joining us on Caring for Kids. We had a great show, and it was wonderful to announce our new partnership on the radio with the Jamie Daniels Foundation with Arlyn and Ken, and our partnership with Cristo Rey High School, and new partners we hope to develop with DTE Energy. So it was a great show. We appreciate everyone listening. And our next chance to have this great gathering of people will be on Tuesday, August 28th at 7 p.m., and we hope you can join us. In the meantime, have a great rest of the summer, and listen to us right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Caring for Kids on WJR has been presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.